Welcome to the Purpose Chasers podcast, where those who refuse to let odds or naysayers stand in their way come to chase and catch their true calling. I'm your host, Mark Crandall. In each episode, we shine a spotlight on artists and musicians who dare to dream bigger. You'll hear the real-world tactical moves these Purpose Chasers have taken to carve out their legacies, and I'll break down the marketing strategies you can swipe and implement today. Let's dive in and start chasing our purpose. Don't forget to leave a follow on Spotify or wherever you stream from. Let's dive into this episode. Welcome back, everybody, to this episode of the Purpose Chasers podcast. I'm deeply heart excited today. So I had an experience at a conference that I attended I think it's 2 months ago. Time flies when you're having fun. 2 months ago. And this woman, and I had heard that this woman was just a powerhouse, but I was like, yeah. She used to be a fitness instructor on TV. Like, how powerful can, what are we going to do here? And she hit the stage and brought so much energy in her talk. But more than the energy that she brought in her talk, she really got me connected to a lot of limiting beliefs that I don't get to explore that often as a man. And especially some limiting beliefs around body image that I don't get to talk to with my bros when we're out. When we're at the gym, I'm not talking about, oh man, my belly fat's really showing today. And she led us, before I introduce her, she led us through this workout / meditation. I mean, there was a touch of yoga in there, and also brought me back to my Muay Thai roots. So it was like martial arts, meditation, aerobics, and yoga. And I just want to share this. I had one of the most powerful experiences in her keynote talk while we were doing her workout, that I just started crying with gratitude towards the end of it. And yeah, I would say I was like, you know what? I'm going to reach out to her. I don't know if she'll respond on Facebook, but I tried. She did. Sent me directly over to her people, and here she is. Patricia Moreno, and I didn't pronounce it right because she has a little drawl that she does when she pronounces it. But she is the founder of IntenSati, and she gave us all access to her Sati 360, which is a 365-day workout program that she designed. And I'm just blown away by what this woman presented. And Patricia, I'm so excited to have you on this episode of Purpose Chasers. Thank you so much for coming on.
Wow, what a great introduction. That's so beautiful. I'm really happy to be here. That was an amazing event. And I love that you got so moved, and that really is the foundation of the work that I do, is help people find their power to tap into really powerful emotions that we don't always tap into.
No, and I would go on a limb to say that a lot of society never taps into it. I would, for the sake of being controversial, I would say that our society and everything that's thrown at us in the world is all geared up to prevent us from going there.
Yeah, absolutely. So much of the, leading with the head, doing the work, being productive, right? Focusing on intelligence instead of focusing on really the space of who we are and the power of emotion, not even all positive, but the power of emotion and being able to tune in and tap into those is the driver of all of life.
So let's get right into it. I want to know, and I got to hear some of your story during your talk, and you were weaving it in with the workout that you led us through. I can't even call it a workout because it was
an awakening.
Yeah, it was. It was a mind, body, spirit workout. It was like I was spiritually fitter, I was physically fitter, and emotionally fitter and mentally fitter coming out of it. Fitter. I don't know if that's the right
fitter is a great word.
Phrasing, but fitter is what we're rolling with. So can you bring me through and we talked about it before we got, before we hit play, and like I was asking her questions, and then I was just like, I kept saying we need to just hit play and get this on the episode. Can you bring me through the progression of your life and kind of the Cliff Notes version? Because I know your story, and I want to go deeper into how you started to pursue purpose. But where you ended in like, and I call it the ending, right? So every ending, there's a new dawn. In society's eyes, is like the glory land, right? It's like you had arrived, you had fame, you had money, you had it all. And I don't want to give too much away for the listeners, but can you bring me through to that point? And then I want to dive into your chase for what you're doing now, which is truly inspiring.
Yeah, I would love to. So I'll give you the Cliff Notes version, but it starts really, I grew up in Northern California. I'm one of 11 kids, 8 girls and 3 boys. And I start because I want you to understand the culture that I was brought up in. And my mom, like women now and then, and I think still, really believed that our appearance is our social currency. Right? Media tells us that, our past tells us that especially as women, that our social currency is how we look and how we can show up in the world in a way of being beautiful or fitting norms or trying to fit what are these ideals that are sold to us. And my mom was very much stuck in that idea. And when I was about 8 years old, I guess she thought I was too overweight. She was scared for me, and I was chubby. But even looking back at the pictures, I can't find a photo that really warrants her fear. But she put me on the scale, and she was with my dad, and they both had this look of intense fear, right? So I'm on the scale, I see the number, I see them, and I go, uh-oh, something's terribly wrong with me. And I remember exactly, I weighed 130 pounds, and I just was put on diets right after that. And I feel like that, I call that the time that I was put under the spell, the spell of unworthiness. Like, something's wrong with you. You have to fix something in order, in our eyes, to be okay. And to me,
it wasn't, so it wasn't as if like your family just changed their eating habits. You were actually told that you were going on a diet?
well, you remember I have 7 sisters that are older, right? So everybody's already on a diet, right? This wasn't just me singled out. This was the norm in the house. I just now got entered into the tribe, right? I was initiated. So, but that was when I really realized, in my mind, I made up the story that in order to be loved, I have to look a certain way. And so ended up going on diets, taking all the diet doctors and diet pills. They were even doing this crazy thing at one point where there were diet doctors, and they would inject cow's urine into your bloodstream because supposedly it made your metabolism faster. It was just like crazy ass stuff, but also giving you like diet pills, which would like annihilate your hunger and give you some speed, right? So just crazy stuff, but all part of society, right? All part of a very normal way of interacting, especially as women. And I just got heavier and heavier, and I started binging and purging, and my life really just focused around this one core thing, like thin at any cost, thin at any cost, thin at any cost. And I found fitness, and I loved it. It was like this really hallelujah moment for me, that I could move my body and I could start to really take charge of my physical self. You know, when you're young, you don't really know how to take charge of yourself. So it was really like an amazing moment for me. And I thought, this is my life. For sure, this is what I'm doing. Not only am I going to be doing something that I can physically do well, I was strong, I was coordinated, I wanted the being in front of people kind of life, like I wanted to be a dancer or an actress. So it served a lot of purposes. But what happened was I also bought into this idea that your physical appearance is your social currency. So I was like fat phobic and spreading the word of like, great body, great life. You have a great body, you'll have a great life. Just make your body great. And it fit in, right? And it still fits in today. We hear that all the time. And then I started to become very popular. I started to do aerobics competitions. I was a national aerobics champion. Became the highest paid teacher in New York, the first one to ever get health insurance. Equinox just opened at the time. They're a big fitness chain, and they were trying to woo me from another place. So they got me an apartment, like really because they saw me as the thing that would drive so many people over, because I had a pull. I had a large audience, and I got a TV show, which was like my dream job. I was on the cover of magazines. I was sponsored by Nike and Reebok and Everlast, like sponsored and promoted because just my way of doing things resonated with a lot of people. But what was happening to me personally was that I was reinforcing this false belief that my body was my social currency. And because I had a background in eating disorders, I was using drugs, I was using pills. Everything for me was the mantra, thin at any cost. And I absolutely meant it. And then the rock bottom for me was when I had the TV show and I got super ripped, like abs showing and short shorts, like the epitome of like perfection in the world of fitness. And I got the job, but then because I didn't use sustainable means, I didn't change. I was only trying to fix things on a surface level. And I gained weight. And so I got called into the producer's office one day, and he was like, "What's up? Like, why are you gaining so much weight?" I had gained like 20 pounds. And that was my rock bottom moment. I was so filled with so much shame because I felt like this was national TV. It wasn't a secret anymore. Like everybody saw me do this. And I was like, wow, this is really my turning point. But as I left the studio, I was wondering, what the hell am I going to do? Am I going to get back on the treadmill? Am I going to get back into the diet mentality again? And I actually went to go buy crystal meth. And it wasn't the first time I'd used crystal meth. I'd used it, but not as a partying drug. I used it as a diet aid because crystal meth will annihilate not only your hunger, but a lot of other things. And I just had a breakdown that night as I kept the crystal meth in my drawer, and I was crying like, is this really who I am? Like, who am I doing this for? Really, at any cost? Do I mean at any cost? Because this is going to be a big cost. Not only am I going to lose my health, I'm going to lose everything. Am I really going to take the choice of being a drug addict? For who? For what? And then I had this thought, and I think this was really the game changer for me. And I don't know why I had this thought, but it was really just, you're not the only one. You're not the only one. That, you know, if you look at the statistics in the diet culture, in the diet world, 0.1% of people actually succeed. 0.1% of people actually succeed. That means millions and millions and millions of people go on a diet or try to lose weight or try to get their body to look a certain way. And 0.1% actually succeed and maintain it. And when I started to think about those statistics, I'm like, there's nothing wrong with me. I am extremely disciplined. I am extremely strong. I'm one of the strongest people in the nation at the time. Like, I am the tip top of this industry, and I'm failing. How could you expect anybody to succeed? There's something missing in this recipe. It's not diet and exercise. It's not calories in, calories out. It's not. It has to be deeper than this, because I've been doing this since I'm 8 years old. I'm a master. And as I started to think about that, I started to really realize that I wanted to shift the direction of my life. Like, I was doing this business for, I say, applause, right? How many followers can I have? How much money can I make? How popular can I be? How much love can I get from the world? Which was really what I was hungry for. How do I get validated? How do I break this trance of unworthiness, this trance of you're not enough, you're not enough, you're not enough, you've got to be thinner, you've got 5 pounds more, 1% more body fat, and then you'll be there. And I just realized what a joke that was, because I already had all of those external things that I really wanted to have. I had the list of accomplishments and the notoriety and the covers of the magazines and everything. And I still didn't fix the hole that was in my heart. And so I realized that there had to be something here that was missing, and that I was going to devote my life to figuring it out. I was going to shift from doing what I was doing for applause, and I was going to do it for a cause, which included not just my healing, but I was determined to create something that would be a healing for the millions of people that have been suffering on this same journey and stuck in this trance of unworthiness. And that just began my hunger for, and my search for figuring out a method that would help people do that.
It's such a, I mean, that's just such a powerful story. And you, I mean, I know enough about you, hearing you, you know, at the conference, to know you are definitely not one that's going to play the victim. Right. And my mindset is like, everything from my past, all the childhood abuse, all the drug addiction, all the incarceration, everything from my past has built me up into the warrior that I am today. So something that came up for me when you were sharing that is, did you have any mentors? Did you have anyone around you that you could be like fully transparent with, that you could just bounce stuff off? Like, I don't want to do this anymore, I want to shift. Or were you so isolated with the reputation that you had built up? Because I have to share with you, I've only been carrying my message to the world for 2.5 years now. And my following increases. The clients that, the coaching clients that I take on is increased. And all the things are increasing as I continue to do this work. And one of my biggest fears is not necessarily the external circumstances that you just shared, but the internal. I never want to lay my head on the pillow and think to myself, I'm a fraud. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Did you have anyone to talk to?
Well, so when you're hiding a secret, as I'm sure you probably know, you isolate because the shame is so strong that it keeps you incarcerated completely. And I didn't want to share, I was such a mess that I was afraid to lose everything if people found out what I was really doing behind the scenes and what I was preaching, right? So I just told a friend, and then my friend found a therapist and made me go. And I went to that therapist, which helped me a lot. But that didn't help me really become more authentic and transparent. It helped me heal and process. But I started to really I went on a journey, and I said, I have to find what's the missing piece here. There's a missing piece. And I just went and studied with a lot of different people. And I'll have to say that I'm sure your audience knows Tony Robbins very well. But one of the things that I went to a Tony Robbins event, and one of the things, not an event, I did his whole curriculum. And there was one defining moment, there were actually two defining moments. One was, I was in Fiji. He has an island in Fiji where he holds these retreats, and this was more wellness focused. And Deepak Chopra was talking about, how do we create lasting change in our lives? How do we really change, and not just 2 steps forward, 2 steps back? And I was always putting it in this framework of weight loss, right? How do I stop losing 10 pounds, gaining 2, losing 5, gaining 10, and this kind of like dance that so many of us experience in life? And he was saying that the number one way that you can have real lasting changes, it has to be a shift in identity. It has to be a total shift of identity, because it's identity that drives behavior. And I was in the shower after hearing that talk, and I'm like thinking about what he's saying. I could feel there's an answer here. And all of a sudden, it's really just like, boom. I had this, just a vision of me being younger and like, on the treadmill, I'm so fat I have to lose weight, working out like 5, 6, I literally was working out up to 8 hours a day. I'm so fat I have to lose weight. I'm so fat I have to lose weight. I got to do another diet. I got to do another 10 pounds. But the identity was, I am so fat. I am broken. There's something wrong with me. All of these identities were merged into my self-concept. There's something wrong with me that needs to be fixed. And my weight is a problem. I am fat. And so you have to remember, it started when I'm 8 years old, maybe sooner, but that identity was firmly implanted. So when he said that, I'm like, how do you change your identity? And one of the things that he was teaching was everything that you say after the words I am is your identity. And those that you repeat most often become the neural pathways, they become your personality, because the repetition literally creates the hardwiring in the brain, which creates your personality. And I love Dr. Joe Dispenza's way of saying it. He says, which I think is so simple and perfect, is your personality creates your personal reality. So same thing Deepak Chopra was saying, which is your identity drives behavior, your self-concept. You'll always live true to your self-concept. There's actually no way. Who says this? Brian Tracy, I think it is. I don't know if you know who Brian Tracy is, but a great teacher as well. I remember him saying once, you know, if someone gives you $1 million, you better become a millionaire really fast. Right? It makes sense. Like, so it's your identity. Like the money will go through out of your hands like water if you don't see yourself as someone who is a millionaire. And I was like, this is a piece of the puzzle. This is a piece. I know this is a piece, but now what? And then I went to another one of Anthony Robbins or Tony Robbins events. This was the one in Bahamas. It was Date with Destiny. And he's talking about similar kind of thing, right? Don't try to lose weight or change your life by just doing the actions. You have to start with your state, because it's your state that drives your behavior. If you're in a depressed state, you're going to take very different actions than if you're in an empowered state, an uplifted state. But the key is not to try to change your state with the food or the smoking or the drugs or the buying or the accumulating or the consuming or the shopping. That's how most people do it. Let me change my circumstances so it changes me. Let me make sure my kids are not being crazy so that I can have peace. And when I'm at peace, my kids will stop being crazy, right? So he's teaching, how do we change our state? That you can change your state like this. And that should be our number one goal. But he gave this whole pyramid, and he says your state is a result of three things: what you're focusing on, your physiology. You know, depressed physiology is slow and forward and down with the face. And an enthusiastic physiology is shoulders back, big movements, strong voice. And that would activate the state that you want to embody. Focus physiology and language. What kind of language are you using? How are you speaking to yourself? How are you speaking? Just in general, what kind of a language do you use? All of this is creating a state or an identity, which then propels certain actions. So they were crossing, and this idea of like, is still like, how do I change identity? How do I empower myself to see myself differently? So I knew that this was like the driving question. It was leading me somewhere. And then he says incantations. So incantations, he calls them, are using affirmations, but with your body, so that you're actually activating a state. Because I can say, I am strong, I am amazing, I'm strong, I'm amazing, I'm abundant, I'm wealthy. But if it's just like a drone, and it's just like it's like reading a book or watching a movie, it doesn't change me. So he was saying, you've got to get your body involved into it. So I'm like, oh my God, something's here. I know this is like, something's here. And then we go onto the beach, and we're marching on the beach. It's like dark outside, and there's hundreds of us, and we're all marching on the beach, and we're all chanting one affirmation, which is the affirmation that says, all I need is within me now. All I need is within me now. All I need is within me now. Just like marching, moving. And I get this like thunderbolt. I'm like,
so the rest of the world, you would have looked absolutely insane. But here you are.
Oh, absolutely. So we're like chanting and marching, and I get like this thunderbolt, and I'm like, oh, and I go, oh my God, that's it. That's it. I'm going to combine my expertise in fitness, which I had already been teaching for 12 years. And I'm going to combine this piece that helps people shift their identity, helps awaken powerful, positive states of being independent of their circumstances, right? So we want to change our circumstances so we feel better. But what I'm going to teach people is how to master awakening a state independent of their circumstances. So they can be at cause, so they can be intentional, conscious and intentional. Sati is mindfulness, awareness, and intention comes from intention. IntenSati, intent comes from intention. So teaching people to be not only intentional, but to be conscious about creating the state, the identity, the self-concept that will completely annihilate this 2 steps forward, 2 steps back dance, and helps you become the person that you want to be. Not to just achieve the goals. That anybody can actually achieve a goal, but it doesn't lead to a real shift in identity, a real metamorphosis, a real transformation. That transformation has to happen on the inside. And so, and it's easier actually than the other way around. So then I said, I'm going to create a workout, because for Tony Robbins to say, if you don't do incantations, you're not doing my work. All of my work is based on incantations. That's how I've achieved all of my success. I have that on a recording, hearing him say just that. But what I realized where the hole was is, it's one thing to read about, you can read about swimming, but you can't learn to swim until you get into the pool and you put in a lot of hours. So it's one thing for Tony Robbins or Deepak Chopra or Course in Miracles or any great teacher to say, this is what you need to do. And then there's another thing to actually integrate it and do it. So I wanted to create the practice that would combine something that people already do on a pretty regular basis that would actually be transformative as you, as an identity, as a self-concept. So it combines the spiritual, the emotional, the physical, and the mental, and one practice that gets you to actually create a real transformation within yourself that will then result in a transformation in your life. And I started teaching that in 2002 at Equinox in New York City. And that's been my life's work ever since.
So such an, I mean, I'm like blown away. It's just such an amazing story and transformation. And you touched on a lot in, I mean, we could talk all day. I can already tell. But there's so much more to it, right? So our society, the way that we're taught or what we consume is this quick fix. And, I work at I'm like a partner in a CrossFit gym, and I see it all the time. And I love working out. I love what it does to my mind, to my body, to my self-esteem, right? Which is really why I do it, because I want to feel better. Mm-hmm. And all the time I get new athletes that come in and they'll say, like, I want to go to the CrossFit games. Or I want to go to regionals. I'm like, great. What do you have going on in your life? And they'll be like, well, I do, this, that. And I'm like, no. So you're going to need to quit your job. You're going to need to probably tell your partner that you're not going to be home much. And you're going to need to devote all of your time to diet and exercise. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, these people have been training for like 20 years. And so I know that the work that I've heard you share, the work that went into you becoming the image that you couldn't stand anymore. Right?
Right.
How much work went into the reshift? And I know the behind the scenes of how you built up, like, because I'm building now myself. So I know what it looks like to sit at my laptop for hours, just trying to carry a message to that one person. But I mean, like, in your whole life, like your circle of influence, like what you're doing on a daily basis, like what changed? How drastic was that? And what systems did you implement to ensure that you could follow through on what you were intending to create?
I think for me, the big driver was the shift into purpose, right? Like there's so much power. There's so much power when you tap into your purpose, because you start accessing a whole nother level of guidance and information. It's truly heart and soul's work, and you get more power from that than you do from trying to consume or trying to get or focusing on an ego gratifying way of living. And so I think that I experienced so deeply that this shift was not only something that I needed, but that actually millions of people needed. And that actually it was really, I really believe it's a major game changer. I think it's a tool that anybody who applies it and uses it will have. It's impossible not to have a transformation, because you put new info in, you get new info out. Like, that's just black and white. There's no magic there. There's no magical thinking there. It's just, you put something new in, you get something new out. And I think I was so excited by that, so excited about how to bring this to larger audiences, that I already had the platform. So all I did was I started, my classes were very popular because they were very challenging. In New York City, type A personalities, super fit people. I was not teaching to beginner fitness people. I was teaching to the elite level that wanted to train hard. And I wanted to do this shift, but I didn't want to kind of explode everything that I had already built. So I decided just to put the class on the schedule one time a week. And this was the time when I'm teaching like 15 classes a week, right? It's full-time job, full schedule, packed classes. And I asked my manager, I said, I want to do a new class. She said, what's it called? I said, I don't know. She's like, what are we going to do? I said, I don't know, but just give me a date so that I have a deadline that I have to meet. I promise you it's going to be amazing. It'll be a cardio class. She's like, okay, you have it. And I went in to teach the class the first time, and people are like rolling their eyes and not wanting to really do it, because I changed, because I'm also a yoga teacher, and I started the class like a yoga teacher would, with a Dharma talk, with you don't do this in normal fitness classes. You stand up, you say, here's what we're focusing on today. We're focusing on gratitude or your self-concept and blah, 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 blah. So people were not.
If I went to lead a CrossFit class,
exactly.
And, hey, guys, gather around. We're gonna just draw into our consciousness right now.
Yeah, I want you to tap into your heart. They're like, what the fuck? Are you fucking kidding me? So it was like that. It actually was like that. Like literally rolling their eyes, hands on the hips, and I could feel it. And it just was like I wanted to cry. I was so scared. And every time I would go into class, I'm like, I'm doing it anyway. I'm just doing it. I know this is the right thing. But then at one point, the manager said, I got some feedback that you're talking too much in class. Why don't you save it for the end? Why don't you just don't talk in the beginning, save it for the end. And this was right as I'm walking in the door to teach to a packed class, right? There's like 100 people in the class. They're waiting, even though they're not really vibing with the message of it, they're coming because it's a really great and fun class. And then, so my steam starts coming out of my head. I'm so upset. I'm so upset that this thing that I believe is going to change the world, like literally is the answer to what everybody is in there for. I know it with every fiber of my being. I go in and I'm like, look, I just got some feedback that somebody in here complained, or maybe some of you complained that you think I talk too much at the beginning of this class, and you just want to get to the meat of it. This is a different class. I have many other classes on the schedule. You're welcome to take any of those other classes, but in here we're doing something different. And if you don't want to be a part of this different thing, I'm going to ask you to leave right now, because if you stay in this class, I expect you to do this class as it is created. That means I call, you respond. I say something, you repeat it back to me. If you don't feel like you can participate fully, then I'm going to ask you to leave. But let me tell you one thing. This is what's changed my life. This is what helped me heal from an eating disorder, what helped me heal from drug abuse, what helped me get off the roller coaster of diets and going back and forth. And if you want some of that, I'm going to invite you to stay. But the other workouts won't deal with that. And everybody started clapping like they weren't the one. They didn't want to be seen as the one that wrote the comment. No one left. No one left. But it was a turning point, because then they actually participated willingly and fully. And then they got the real experience. Like if I give you a mango and you've never had it, I say, please taste this mango. And you pinch your nose and swallow it without even chewing it. How are you going to know if you even like it or not? And that's what I would always say. How do you even know if you like this or not? You haven't even tried it. Nothing like this exists. You have to taste it. You have to embody it. And then you decide if it worked for you or not. But standing here rolling your eyes is not going to give you the answer. And that shift kind of started this trickle effect, because then I had a core number of people that were getting like bawling. Like you said, they're bawling. Once you stop hammering yourself with negativity, most of us are so self-denigrating. We're constantly picking ourselves apart, never enough, whether it's weight or whether it's money or whether it's background. How many of us, and this is universal, we pick ourselves apart. We're mean to ourselves. We tear ourselves down. We're never good enough. We're always looking at what we didn't accomplish. We're always looking at what's not right. And how do you expect to create anything that has power to change the world on the basis of that? It's not even possible. It's like trying to ask somebody who's depressed how to be happy. You can't access your greatness from that level of mind. It is impossible. You can't get how to do algebra from a 5-year-old. You have to shift your state into a state of love, of givingness, of purpose, of willingness, so that you can access the information that will help you build the thing that will serve in the way that you want to serve. And people were starting to feel that, like they felt the power of love. They felt the power of gratitude. They felt the power, and that it was a direct result of 3 things: what they were focusing on, what they were saying, and how they were moving their body. And so it's very empowering to start to realize that you don't have to lose the 20 pounds to be happy. But if you get happy and start loving yourself, you'll start making better choices about the foods you want to put into your body, right? But it's got to start from the internal shift of awareness, the self-concept, the identity. And that can be done whether you build the business or not. In fact, that is the foundation of success itself.
And there's something that you said that I want to just reiterate and dive deeper into for those of you that are listening. And I want to share my experience of doing the IntenSati at the event that I was at, and relate it to potentially the listener, your experience with wanting to try something, of being so wrapped up in what you think other people are going to think about you. Because that is what stops individuals from transforming. What are they going to think? Like I've done a bunch of Tony Robbins events. I've crewed his events. I've done even stranger events than those. Like if society were to look, to be like, what are they doing? Right? Like that is insane. I would never do that. That's a cult. And like whatever we need to say so that because we believe that other people are feeling that, and then they say it, and then no one tries and you stay stuck. And so when I think about Patricia hit the stage at this event, the atmosphere at this event was like all family, everyone's cool, like it's lovey-dovey, everyone's hugging and high-fiving, and it's a great time. She starts doing this, like what in my mind, I'm like, what is this crazy woman doing? Like this jazzercise, weirdo shit that's going on right now. She's pumping her arms and she's like, and I'm like, and so I slowly start doing it. And then I look around and I'm like, what are they going to think? What are they going to think? Which is the number one thing that prevents me from taking any action that could better my life, is what are they going to think? And then I look around and then I go, okay. And one of my favorite teachers drops this quote that people can only think about you the depths of your own thoughts. And so I look around and I realize they're not thinking about me. Other people are looking around wondering what I'm thinking about them, what she's thinking about them. And then before I know it, a shift takes place in the room and no one gives a fuck. And we're all just punching the air and we're chanting, and I don't give a shit. I'm pulling my hoodie off because I'm breaking a sweat now. And then we go into what I refer to as like the heart practices, in which we're really drawing into our heart, and we have our hands on our heart and we're experiencing deep gratitude. And then I start to cry. And really not from a place of like, oh my God, what are they going to think? But like, just who gives a shit? And so I just want to share that with you that are listening. Like it takes something to really walk through the fear of what other people think and go out into, and that's why I started this podcast, is to give the the norms, the normal people of society, an opportunity to tap into something that I like was so terrified to jump into, like to go, even go to that conference or go to Tony Robbins. It's like, I have friends that surround me now that are like, why would you do Landmark? Or why would you do Tony Robbins? Or why would you go to Abraham Hicks? Or why would you do this? Why were you jumping around with Patricia when she was like punching air and talking about, you know what I mean? It's like, so that's my one challenge. I always leave a challenge on my podcast. And my one challenge, guys, is for you to identify an action that you've wanted to take that you really feel would better your life, and just take it. Fuck what they think. They're not thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves.
Exactly. Yes. You know what's, it's interesting what you talk about too, because it really gives a great visual to what's actually happening. There's this work, if you haven't seen Dr. Hawkins' work, Dr. David Hawkins, Power versus Force, what he talks about is the levels of consciousness, and that there is a line. One is force, right? So lower levels of consciousness it starts the lowest level, and then he gives a calibration, a number. The numbers don't really matter, but the lowest level of energy is depression, right? So when you're depressed, you're like close to suicide, right? You're so close to death because the level of consciousness is so low. And that everything you do from a level of force, which includes depression, anger, resentment, pride, there's more in there. That's all considered force. So when you're in this state, you're actually forcing, you're trying to force things to happen. That's where I was, right? That's where I was living. I was trying to force my body. I was trying to force people to think I'm a certain way. But the defining line of consciousness that moves you into power, and once you move into a consciousness of power, a level of mind, a state of beingness of power, things start working your way. Things start working on your behalf. When you do something, there's actually a positive result instead of like pushing against a wall and just getting exhausted. So what you're talking about is the defining moment that tips you from force to power, which is courage. Courage is the door. So what you're saying is, what you did was you're like, I'm just going to do it. And then when you started to do it, that was courageous. It was really a courageous act. That one thing that you did and you said, fuck it, I don't give a shit, I'm going to do it, moved you into another realm. It moved you into another level of consciousness, which then gave you all of that feedback, and the gratitude and the power that you experienced was real, that you actually produced within you because of that courageous act. Now you don't get the courage.
I just got goosebumps when you just said that.
Yeah. Well, you don't get the courage. You don't get the power until you do the step of courage. You don't get it. You don't even know that it's in you. You can't, because you didn't go through the door. It's the act of saying, I'm going to do something I've never done before. I'm going to try something, even though I'm afraid people are going to laugh at me. That's a courageous act. It can be big, it can be small, but the more of these courageous acts that we take, the more we build our personal power, our authentic power, where we're not fighting to win against somebody or to prove to somebody. Even pride and shame are one loop. So you get to pride, I'm looking good. Well, now you gained some weight, or now you lost the money, or now the deal didn't go through, and now you're back to shame. So you're just in this pride shame loop. But when you do courageous acts of just what you just there shared with us, you're starting to build the reservoir of personal power, or tap into your reservoir of personal power.
Yeah. And all I keep hearing in my head, I was going to say thinking about, but is like when they drop, we will never be the same at Tony Robbins, and like the whole room goes wild. And it's like, and I have countless other transformational workshops and things that I've done, you know, in a meditation retreat. Like it was a silent meditation retreat. We were 6 days in, and I don't know if I've shared this on the podcast. And I found myself doing walking meditation, and I had shamed myself for years. I was a heavier kid, and I was picked on in school, and I act out aggressively. So that ended, and I was labeled the psycho in school, but I had body image issues and still do to this day. And during this, it was on the 6th day of this walking meditation, I just said, fuck it. I took my shirt off. I finished the walking meditation in my underwear in the field. And I'm like, and I'm crying and I'm just like, I am not fat. I am beautiful. You know what I mean? So my challenge to all of you that are listening is tap into that courage. There is so much more to life than watching reality TV. There is so much more to life than the new keto diet that's going to shed your weight. And there's just so much more to life. And when you tap into the heart in a way that Patricia has shared, it is like, you will never be the same. Like it is, there's this life that we live, and then there's this transformational life that you can live. And I know it sounds weird. And like when she's talking about chanting on the fire, I haven't done Date with Destiny yet. It is on my bucket list. The number one thing that always stopped me is money. That costs so much money. And when you're caught in that same cycle that you were talking about, like, why am I going to invest money in myself when I can't stand myself? That won't work for me. I'm broken, right? These are my thoughts.
Yeah. You know, the thing that, yeah, you know, it's a whole identity shift and mind shift. And I think what I love about your podcast is because the reason I just was scraping money together too, but what gave me such power to find a way was purpose. This was not for me anymore. This was not about me losing weight. This was not about me being more popular. Well, there probably was still some of that in there too, but it was really, well, because, you know, that's just, I want to be the best, right? That's still the thing for me. Like, I have to be the best. Nobody will notice me unless I'm the best. And then coming from 11 kids where you're like lost in a swarm of people, that drove me a lot. But the purpose piece of it was like, I have to find a way. This is not about me. This is, I know how deeply I have suffered. I know this pain is so dark, and I know it very well. And I know there's millions of people that suffer from this darkness and from this depth of personal pain that I now believe with every fiber of my being that this is one way to heal millions of people. And I really, really believe it. And that's why I really appreciate being on podcasts like yours, where you're having these conversations that are so important and so valuable, and really helping people kind of break free from those trances of, I'm not enough, I'm not enough, I'm not enough, I'm not enough. It's like, it's just on repeat, but let's put something else on repeat. It's the same thing. It's just, are you doing it consciously or are you doing it unconsciously? Here's the word I love. Is it effective or is it ineffective? Just start there. Is that repeat? Is that effective or is that ineffective? And start dealing with the thoughts in your head like they're not the truth, but that actually, if you're going to doubt something, doubt your shit ass thinking instead of doubting what could possibly help. Like, if you're going to be a doubter, use it for something good.
It's going to be in the description of the podcast. Doubt your shit ass thinking. And so it's funny that you say it's funny that you share what you just shared, because I had a coaching client that I was working with yesterday, and it was the first session. And I was, what is there one thing that if you could get one thing, you would feel like this session was just through the roof for you? She's like, yeah, I want to find my purpose. So I do a little exercise with her, and happiness. That was her purpose. She wanted to be happy. And I was like, well, what if I told you you could tap into happiness, and your happiness will guide you towards your ultimate purpose? Oh my God, that's a thing we can do. I'm like, oh yeah, let's tap into some of that.
That's so good.
Patricia, I am a firm believer in what you are carrying to the world, or I would not have you on my podcast. And I had such a powerful experience with your IntenSati. Where can my listeners find this?
PatriciaMoreno.com is the best place to go. There is There's workouts there. There's like this 7 module workout. If you really want to just go, okay, I want to do it. I'm going to work on like self-love. You can do that. There's single workouts. And then if you want to go for it, full immersion, it's a program called Sati 365. And if you know Miracle Morning, like I was just talking to Hal yesterday, it's basically the savers in a workout, the savers in a practice. So Sati 365 takes you through 365 days of creating a goal, creating a plan for your goal, but creating, most importantly, the heart, body, and mind connection so that you become the person that you want to become. And then we use the goal as that kind of carrot to help draw you into that new identity.
So guys, go check out her work. I'm like ecstatic to have participated in this interview. I don't do this podcast for any money or fame. I actually quit it after 2 months and then picked it back up after one of my mentors gave me some feedback about how I don't get to talk about living with purpose and then drop the ball on my purpose. and so I restarted it, and this has just been an amazing interview. So go check out her work. It is phenomenal. I loved it. And Patricia, I'm going to ask you the closing question that I ask all of my guests, and I'm hoping that you haven't listened to any episodes.
No, I want to hear.
Oh, she just perked up. She just changed her state. For those
yes, I did.
So I always ask my guests, if you could leave one message for the world, what would it be?
You really are enough. Because I think that so much we keep waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And once you identify that where you are, you have enough, you are enough to do what you can from where you are with what you've got. And once you live, do what you can from where you are with what you've got. It's a Theodore Roosevelt quote. Everything in your life changes. Everything. You now live from an abundant mentality versus a lack mentality. And it's something we all have to figure out for ourselves. And it's something that if we just decide, if everybody says today, I'm just going to decide, I'm going to decide I am enough, I'm smart enough, I'm good enough, I've got enough. I have enough today to do something that will move me forward, and we'll keep building on that. I really think that we'd have a lot more people living their purpose and living a fulfilled life.
So beautifully said. And in closing, for those of you listening, my challenge for this week, I'm going to step it up a little bit. My challenge for this week is actually to go over to Patricia's website.
Wow, that's cool.
And get her program. I'm pretty sure they can get free workouts.
Yeah, there's a free workout on YouTube. There's a 7-minute workout. Just Google, you'll find it. Yeah, we can, you know what? Let's give everybody a workout. I mean,
I'm open.
Okay, so we'll give you a link to give to everybody.
Cool. And I will post the link in the description of the podcast episode, guys. Go check her out. She's a beautiful human. And actually, I'm going to go on a limb and say, out of all of the keynotes that spoke at that event, you brought the most heart to it.
Wow.
I'm just super grateful for that, and aspiring to follow in your footsteps. So
awesome.
Thank you so much.
I love it. Thank you so much. And I really am grateful to be here and for your support.
Awesome. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
That's a wrap on this episode of the Purpose Chasers podcast. If you're ready to take action, don't wait. Head over to thepurposechasers.com to access notes, resources, and a host of other tools to keep you moving forward. And if you want to supercharge your digital presence, visit scaletosaleconsulting.com to partner up with my team and amplify your impact. Let's turn your purpose into your biggest asset. Until next time, keep chasing, keep creating. Your purpose awaits.